Okay. Great. The collaboration subcommittee update. I think the reminder, there's probably a better way to have reminders out there because it's when we like, again, like the kind of coffee thing where we like individually reach out, people show up. But if it's just kind of left in a newsletter, it doesn't. So I'm not sure what sort of way we can do it where it either creates a calendar event that people can like tag to have put on their schedule, or to just do a little reminder blast update. Fran, do you know if there's anything in our existing?
There's a capability in Constant Contact, but it's not a feature we're currently paying for. We would have to add it to our contract.
Do you know what the cost on that would be?
It's not a lot, but I don't know the exact amount.
Who would we talk to regarding getting that feature added?
That would be a budget item, I guess. So Tiara and would be the first place to start.
Can we unmute?
Here.
Or she can do herself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is the loudest I can be today, so yeah, we can start with that. Tammy, you and I can connect offline, and then I can reroute that to Dr. Peoples to see what the next steps would be. But yeah, I'm inclined to think, Fran, that it probably wouldn't be able to start until the next fiscal year starts. So in the interim, though, I don't know what else your calendar looks like, so.
So for the it was this week. It's always first Monday of the month, 9 a.m. and until further notice, it's just at the annex because that was convenient for everybody that voted last time. So this week it was I met with Kelly Barr.
So, and I was there too with Jenny from Webster Arts, but we didn't see anyone.
Oh, I
And
kept
so-
walking around.
I know, but I feel
yeah.
like, so anyway, but.
Okay, yeah, maybe we'll be more specific, like on the
Oh,
patio,
yeah.
the deck, yeah,
Mhm.
kind of thing.
What time?
9 a.m. I know, yeah, because it's been so fun.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, some of the things. Anyway, the poster is out. Oh, Julia.
I think maybe this week there was a confusion because in the newsletter it said Tuesday because last month it was on a Tuesday, right?
I don't know.
Because I had gotten the message that it had switched to Tuesdays. Or was it Tuesdays and then it switched to Mondays?
I would have to go back and like look.
I think it was Tuesdays because
Yeah.
that was like have something to do Tuesday morning, which is why I like had never gone before.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was switched to Mondays because so many shops are closed on Mondays and it was easier for people to get there.
I went on Tuesday, so that's why I didn't see you.
Oh,
Because that was what was on the count, that was what was on the, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, okay, well, do we want it, let's vote now and make sure that we've got it clear. Do we want it on Mondays or Tuesdays?
I can do either.
I can do either. Julia, any thoughts?
I can't do either. So
Okay.
But- Mondays make sense to me. I feel like so many businesses are closed on Mondays.
Okay, all right, we'll stick with Monday then, first Monday of the month. That's why we're done.
Yeah, I was like, we walked all around.
That's funny.
It's up for months with holidays.
Where it's on a holiday?
Memorial Day.
Oh, okay, we'll scratch that then, because you're right, there are often like holiday Mondays. So let's do the first Tuesday. Thank you, Fran. Very good, thank you. Yay. Solved it. All right, first Tuesday, 9 a.m. annex.
Did you have notes? Normally you send me notes.
It was just like two people sitting there chatting, so we
So not
didn't,
enough to,
not really. We do have a little bit, the Webster and Bloom is this weekend. The poster is beautiful. From what I counted, we have like at least 34 businesses participating, which is fantastic. After this collaborative, we're talking about trying to do something with the Arts Commission and it's called we're calling it Make Your Mark, where businesses would commission an artist to make a stamp. Madeline is looking for a little passport book for it, a little stamp that is inspired by that business. So, say it would be very natural to put like a cat or a book or something on one of the, a stamp for Betty. Or books and coffee or something. And then people could collect them, just like in their little passport book at all the different businesses. It's inspired by what they do at temples, and how the way that tourists kind of collect them in Japan. So that is we're just starting to work on that. Maddie was going to maybe craft a call for artists submissions and how to do it. And so even if you're not posting that to your socials, if you have someone that's a real fan of your business, they may reach out to you to design one for you. And then the idea is that the little booklets, the blank booklets, would be given out at the art fair first week of June. And then people could use them throughout the year. And maybe businesses, if it takes off and it's worth the effort, would have a different stamp every year. Art. But we thought that was an interesting way to incorporate fine arts in the creative community here.
Can I ask a question, just backing up to
Sure.
the Tuesdays and this coffee?
Mhm.
Is there an agenda set for this, or is it just kind of open?
Yeah, usually there is, because there's like certain things we're talking about. So like the next one would probably have some information on where we're at with the Make Your Mark. We had talked about trying to do something to reach out to the staff and students and faculty at the universities at WashU and SLU. Because I learned through some coupons that our business knew that the person in charge of that program didn't even know about Webster Groves. And we're 10 minutes down Big Bend. I mean, we're the closest drive, and we have all sorts of things. We have jazz fest, art fairs, we have the theater, we have restaurants, we have coffee shops and bookstores and all kinds of things that would definitely appeal to new students. So we were thinking of trying to do that maybe as a back to school thing in collaboration. So for example, that coupon book that we were in, it was something that was published in September. It was given out to all the students and faculty and everything, but it was good through January. And so putting it in there meant it was there for like a really long time instead of just one issue that then gets recycled right away. But that if Webster came together as a group, not necessarily putting one coupon, but if you had a Betty's Books, coffee, like May Pop, you see her in all of these things, people be like, what's going on in this town? Let's go check this out, and then hopefully become a regular part of their routine of what do we want to do this weekend? A place to explore. So that was what we were looking forward to, maybe more at the end of summer. In the middle, we were thinking of something maybe related to patios, outdoor dining season.
So if you're interested, I'm putting together a panel at WashU on Tuesday, the 24th of June, where the Oldham School in Scandalaris they asked us to participate and, recognize the communities and let these students, you can appreciate, they own, they're coming in. They know U City, they know the Central West End. To your point, they don't know 10 minutes south. And they don't know what's happening. And when they do come here, their eyes just are popping. And they say, my God, why don't we come here? So that's something that I would love the BDC to help participate in. If we have a representative to sit on the panel.
That sounds like a great opportunity. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure I understand this, but though, is it gonna be different municipalities that are on there? Or is it that because you represent like 4 different?
It's really educating them. So I'm in residence at WashU. So I'm constantly bringing students into chamber events. And you can imagine, right, to a 18 to 22-year-old, they don't even know what that means. Right? It's like some old person's organization. So we're trying to educate them a little bit and realize, and make them realize, the benefits. So it is primarily a chamber, but it's a business opportunity. And a lot of these students are staying here and looking for places to plant themselves or to grow their business. So it's exposure.
Okay, so it's sort of like an incubator, business incubator.
That's what
program? Okay.
Scandalaris is, entrepreneurship and innovation,
Mhm.
where they have to kind of, birth an idea and bring it through a process. So we mentor them. But this panel is really for fellows, that are working around St. Louis. And it gives them an opportunity to learn first what our mission is, and then a Q&A.
Great.
So it'll probably be about an hour.
Sounds neat. I think we can definitely have a representative there.
Good.
What time's it at?
I think it's 1:30 to 2:30 right now, but I'm in the midst of planning it. So it'll be in the afternoon, June 24th, Tuesday.
And you said that's about 1:30 to 2:30?
Yeah, right now.
You're thinking?
It's late at 1:30 to 2:30.
And this is a panel?
Yeah, it'll be a panel discussion and the Scandalaris Center, which is in the lower level of Malancrop. Where the Edison Theater is, right on 470. I can send you all. Validate parking.
Great. Okay, so new business, we have the BDC newsletter on there. Is that from you, Tiara, or Julia? Did one of you put that on there?
Tiara probably did. I know she had mentioned that we should come up with like a regular date that it comes out instead of just like generally towards the end of the month. Which I'm all about doing that as well. I have been writing the newsletter for anybody who doesn't know. I do think that my time at the BDC is like coming to a close, so I would like to like kind of transition somebody else into that. I'm happy to do it as long as it's needed. It really doesn't take very long. It's like maybe 15 minutes, especially I just kind of switch out some of the current topics with previous ones. So if anybody wants to volunteer to transition over there, I'd be happy to kind of just show what I do and share my template. Otherwise, I'll just carry on. But that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily put it on the agenda, but like Julia said, there is a conversation to be had with her possible transition off and just making sure that we have something that people are expecting at a regular time of the month. And also so that I can plan my time around expecting that and then making sure that it gets back to Fran at a reasonable amount of time to get it out on the day, whichever day we choose. So it's still a good discussion to have.
Any thoughts from anyone on what time of the month would be the best to send it out?
So it's for the next month, right? Like
It depends, right? If it's at the end of the month, it would make sense that it would be for the coming month. All of our meetings are front loaded to the month, you know, with this one and the collaboration meeting.
You've been using it as a good way to remind people of dates.
Mhm.
So if you wanted to use it as one of your reminders to come to the monthly collaboration,
Mhm.
then sending it out a little sooner would probably be beneficial. For example, this time it was like within a couple of days, that was when the meeting was gonna be, so.
That can be hard.
So possibly more towards the middle of the month.
Yeah.
If you wanted to continue to use it as a potential reminder.
So like, say, for example, the May newsletter would come out in the middle of the month, but it would have information coming forward for June. And then we would send a reminder, if we get the approval to do this constant contact, we can send a reminder the week before.
What-
meeting.
Would it make sense to, shoot for like the 20th is when it would go out, and then that way, right after the BDC meeting in the beginning of the month, the person who writes the newsletter can get like a week to put it together, and then maybe submit it to Tiara and Fran by, the 14th, and then that gives them a week to schedule it to go out and like edit.
That seemed like a reasonable.
She'd know better than anybody.
Yeah, I like it.
So the newsletter, the draft of the newsletter by the 14th of the month, is that what you're saying, Julia?
Yeah, like if that works for Tiara and Fran, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I could make any date work for you guys.
Okay.
The edits and whoever take this on, I know the edits might sound intimidating. It's usually a quick back and forth between me and Julia. I'm just checking to make sure, one, of course, there's nothing crazy in there, which I don't expect, and then two, just being another set of eyes before you send something out. And sometimes I catch things, sometimes she does. So it's just collaborative effort. So it usually is a quick look and we're sending it out.
Okay, and then the goal would be that it would go out around the 20th of each month? Is that what you were proposing, Julia?
That's what I think. And then that kind of gives people a good 10 to 12 days before that subcommittee to get a heads up. And then if we wanted to send a reminder in between that, then it's kind of spaced.
I also would just say, I know you said around the 20th, but it is good to maybe have a standard day if the 20th falls on a Saturday or a Sunday and we can't get to it. Or around a holiday and now we have to wait a few days. You can always say the second to last Friday of the month that you're targeted to send it out. And then your edits are done what was that? The second Friday of the month, or however you pick it, but at least have a day of the week that someone's expecting it.
Yeah.
And that we can ensure that we don't run into any off days or anything like that. So
That makes sense.
when
So-
you pick a date, the dates move, and so you kind of fall into a little trouble with that sometimes.
So if we were to do that, Julia, would it make sense with the edits that you both had to do in the past to do it maybe on a Wednesday? So like the second Wednesday of the month is when the draft would be submitted?
Sure.
So that edits could happen if necessary, and with the goal of it being sent out by or on the second to last Friday?
So draft due the second Wednesday and then email sent out the third Friday.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it sounds like to me.
Great.
Anybody have any questions about that, or like any thoughts on the content of the newsletters, or if there's anything we're missing or should be adding?
I don't think it was clear who would be starting to transition that from Julia.
I think there was a lot of no eye contact in that one.
I think so too, but I'm gonna bring it back around.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do we have any potential?
It's like I said, it's very simple. Especially if you're at the meetings, I think it's easier. Um, like this last one, like I had missed the meeting, so it was like harder for me to do the newsletter. I mean, I watched the meeting, but I don't know. When you're more like in the mix, it's easier to write the newsletter.
Usually I send you the notes that I send to Fran as far
Yeah.
as like the collaborative. If people can't make it to that, I usually send those notes. So
But yeah.
it's a little bit of a team effort. It's not just all.
Right.
So Julia, do you think you'll be on to do it for, where are we? May? So June?
Yeah, I can definitely do like at least the next two. And like I said, I'm happy to do it. You know, I just think we need to be thinking about who's next. But yeah, the next two for sure, I can commit.
I can do it. I can do it. I'll do it.
I talked Betty in, I have it pulled up here. It's not,
No, yeah, I can do it. It won't be. I'll do it.
Okay, Betty,
I nominated Betty.
it's very easy. It's
Great.
not time consuming.
Okay.
And
Well,
we know you've got a lot going on, so we'll make
Yeah.
it easy.
Cool.
Thank you, Betty.
No problem. Oh, no problem, guys.
Okay. Anything else on the newsletters before we move on? Or any other new business we want to talk about?
Jerry, is this something you'd like to share with the chamber or the newsletter or?
I would love to.
Okay,
Yeah, and I'll even offer to help,
Oh,
you know,
great.
if you need help.
Cool. Thank you.
And yeah, I'd love to be able to link the newsletter to get it out there to everybody.
because if you're looking for fresh faces for, you know,
Yeah.
the collaborative, you know, meetups or anything.
Yeah, you know, I shared with Eric yesterday, a couple of our members, you know, local businesses asked to meet me for coffee and they wanted to know what's going on. And so I'd like to know really, you know, outside of just kind of top line. So,
Be a real easy way to just say, hey, this is what's going on.
yeah, I mean, I'm emailing
Yeah,
members.
I mean, I don't
Every day.
think it would hurt too, like, for me, on like the newsletters and things, like, even though it seems like the coffee and the happy hour are far away, but if they're like set, put them in there, cause it's like. I mean, my calendar gets really crazy, and if I have like, you know, if I know this event is coming up in 2 months, I can put on my calendar and like not plan other things there, you know, it's like. You know, I know it seems like, oh, that's 2 months away, we don't have to let people know yet, but it doesn't hurt to like throw that stuff on the
Cross
bottom of the
lines,
thing and
yeah.
just be like, hey, like upcoming
Save the date.
date, save the
Yeah.
date sort of thing, because I feel like, yeah, like. You get this and it's like, it comes out on May 2nd and the dates are like, this is happening on May 6th and this is happening on May 9th, and you're like, well, my calendar is booked up for that stuff, there's no way I can like get that on my calendar within a week's time, so,
Well, it's got a date recap at the bottom.
yeah.
Mhm.
We should move that to the top so that the first thing, because when I'm flipping through emails,
You get all
I'm
this,
looking
like,
for
stuff
information.
You don't wanna read and you're like.
right, and the top part is explore Webster Groves and then a little note from Fran, which could easily be further down, right? Because I know I'm a Webster Groves business. I don't need to, you know, and then so just at the top, it's dates to remember, you know, dates to know or whatever. And then it summarizes each one below it.
I like that.
Because that's the information I'm looking for, right? What's coming up and when.
Yeah, and I feel like with the, even like something with the subcommittee when they're planning events like the Mother's Day things, like. If that stuff gets planned, or at least dates are set, you know, you can just, you know, this is, you know, in the works for this date, there doesn't necessarily have to be any more detail, but. I feel like especially for businesses that wanna like. Like we did that Fall Fest thing and it was like. For me as a restaurant, like if I wanna do something, it's like I gotta come up with like food and drinks, so I gotta like plan. Recipes and order things, and it's just like the more advanced notice you have, I feel like, you know.
I'm
you have to
glad
get
that
it in
you
your
mentioned
calendar a little
that,
bit, but
because like one of the collaborative will come up with lots of things, kind of like, you know, like the after hours, you know, there'll be there's gonna be 4 set things like the Webster Wonderland. But then in between, we'll pepper it with just different opportunities that everybody wants to collaborate on. But we're trying to do that is come up with 4 signature Webster events that we can promote to the region collectively so that people can plan. So that if we do get the budget approved for marketing, through Explore Webster Groves, they usually get special pricing. So then everybody can plan in their annual budgets. Aha, I know I usually get a really good deal on this kind of a like ad or a spot somewhere or on the radio or something.
Yeah.
So that you can tag on with that. But exactly that is that the more time that people have to prepare and the more it's like set on the calendar as being like the 3rd weekend of September or, like between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
So what are the 4 events you've been thinking about?
Well, so far we did Fall Fest. Webster and Bloom seems to be going well and getting some traction. We're trying to think of something summer. Just to cover the 4 different seasons.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of things like Fall Fest kind of worked because, I was like, well, I can do like fall themed cocktails or desserts, but like the Webster and Bloom, it's some of those things are harder for restaurants because it's like, the restaurants aren't going to give out flour to everything that comes through because there's way too many people. So it's like to be able to like plan ahead and tie that in. It's like, oh, well, maybe we want to do like, a floral looking or themed cocktail or something, or dessert or something. And so it's like, I feel like a lot as a restaurant more advance notice to develop those items than just like, okay, we'll just order some flowers and, it's not a whole thing. So.
And I think it's also fair to say that like the first time around through doing things, we're working out.
Oh,
the
yeah,
kinks.
sure.
I think Fall Fest was in October and maybe we want it more in September. Or maybe we do want to align it, we can talk to Old Webster and see if they want to align it with their Walktoberfest, or if they do prefer it being separate. So, there's lots of different conversations to be had down the road to kind of like hone it. But the idea is to have these be something not only that we can plan and anticipate, but that visitors can, like, oh, I always love it when they have that bouquet thing they do in Webster. Or
It's like everyone knows the art fair is like the first weekend in June. It's just like.
and then the idea is that, so, like if they have, somebody in town or like, plans for the weekend, where do we go? We want to be in their top 3 choices, but we want to be their top of mind. And, let's check it out. Webster's always got something going on. There's a jazz fest, there's a, street dance, there's all of these different things that are happening year round. So let's check it out. Because even on a gloomy day, it's still pretty awesome.
Sunrise.
So,
To that, I would also just charge you guys to really make scheduling these things out far in advance a priority. Excuse me. Also because that will involve staff time, me, planning that on Explore Webster Groves and with our external partners. I know we talked about, Tammy, you and I, using some of these quarterly events with our radio, news, and print partners, and using that money around if it is to be approved by council to really uplift those. And so what I can't really have with at least like the radio and print partners is something even a week in advance saying, hey, can you come do this? Or can you put this in a spot? And so and I plan our contracts on a year by year basis. So most of the time when I sign those contracts, they know what the whole year is going to be about. And so I know you're in the planning stages of what might work, but the quicker we can kind of nail some things down, the quicker I can start looking at what the year of content will look like with them. Otherwise, they'll just roll with what I've already signed a contract for, and we'll just keep renewing that, which will just be general explore stuff. It won't be necessarily we're doing these 4 things. And so that's just something to keep in mind. And as you're doing these 4 events, what does staff time look like? What is your needs from the city? And that also needs to be thought about in that full subcommittee group ahead of time before you make a decision on the event so that we can talk about it and see what's actually feasible from our end as well. So just something to think about. I know you're in early stages, but something to guide the conversations.
So do you usually do your contracts like in July, excuse me, in July after the budget's approved, or what time of year do you do your contracts?
So when I started here, some of the contracts didn't fall not necessarily on the fiscal year. And so that was something I had to work out with finance. Some of them were starting in April to April, depending on that company's fiscal year, which is also weird. So I try to align them as much as I can with the fiscal year. Like I have what is it? STO bucket list that I'm not even gonna start talking to them until after I know what I have for July to July. And so some of them I can try to, the new ones I can try to align, which we've talked about, but the ones like Odyssey, WKT is ongoing. So some of them can be flexible, but for me, being fiscally responsible, I like to try to line them up with the budget year.
Okay. So it sounds like to nail down some firm, the Webster and Bloom, if it's always going to be Mother's Day weekend, that would know. And then the Webster Wonderland, we would know that. So
By next month, we will have dates.
Huh?
By next month, we want to have the dates.
right. So my
in
question,
June, we would have them done so that when she goes to go or negotiate, sign, whatever, in July, she has an idea of what we're looking at.
correct.
Yeah.
So that was my question is, would you be available to meet with either on that normally scheduled Tuesday, like the first week of June? Is that too late to have that kind of information to you? Or would you be able to meet with that group, that collaborative group, during the month of May sometime, so that we can just nail it out and draw out what that would look like?
I can meet. I don't know if I necessarily need to meet with them. It's whatever you guys want to do. I think more so what needs to happen is once they come back with what they want their plan to be, this group needs to discuss that. And so then if I have any comments, I can discuss it with this group. Because at the end of the day, you guys have to approve what comes out of that subcommittee. So there's no need for 2 meetings for me, but this is really where the important decisions or final decisions will be made. So I'm more than willing to do either, but that's just my perspective.
So would the next meeting in June be enough notice for that for you? Or
It
do
would.
you, yeah,
It would be. I just also, we still have to wait for the budget to actually be approved. So we can have a plan, given that it is approved, and then we can move forward. But we won't start any contracts until after July 1st, when we actually know what we're working with. So that's just a little caveat to remember as well.
do you know what the date is when the budget will be approved? Or is it being done in stages?
The fiscal year 26 budget will not go into effect until July 1st. So whatever money is available to me, we won't be able to use until July 1st.
I just was trying to learn when I know it doesn't take effect till then, but when is it going to be finally approved?
That depends on the council. And so they could, Councilmember Hasselmeyer, you might be able to answer that more than what I've provided, but it does depend on the council.
For budget.
Yeah.
Is there a goal of a date then before July 1st that?
For BDC,
No, just for the budget, is it going to be, so if it's signed and sealed by May 25th or taking effect July 1st, then anything we talk about, we would know whether or not it was approved.
When would we know what money we have to spend?
that's a great question, y'all. That I don't feel qualified to answer quite yet, because this is like my official first budget season. I can find out. Yeah. Let me not even try to make something up.
Sure.
Yeah, let me find out, what that looks like.
Just trying to make sure that like if our first week of June meetings will cover everything.
Yeah.
Or if, you know, we probably need to do a little bit of something in end of May.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is it really doesn't matter when the council approves it or not approves it. You guys just need to have a plan. So if they don't approve it, we can revise the plan. If they do approve it, we can just move forward. The council has the right to revise anything in the budget up until July 1st. And so it could change. They could say something and someone can offer an amendment and change something else. So it's going to be an ongoing process. What you guys just need to worry about is making sure you have the plan and that it's solid. And so giving either direction, it can be revised. And so
Okay.
don't worry about the dates. I think you might get a little ahead of yourself. Adding extra worry that you don't have to have. Just make sure your end of everything is taken care of, which is just the plan.
I could add to that as
Right,
well.
well, knowing that amendments or, you know, like appeals could be made before July 1st is helpful.
Yeah, and also like the budget process is obviously like really important and it helps us plan. And if there's something that comes up that hasn't been budgeted and it's like a critical need, I mean, there's always we can get you on the calendar, you can present it to council. I'm not saying that that's necessarily gonna be like a rubber stamp to, yes, we'll give you those funds, but that's the process, right? Like it's, the budget is there, it's helpful as a planning document, but it's not like carved out in stone and where there's no flexibility. So if there's ever anything that needs to be brought to the attention of council, you just need to get on the schedule and present it to council for discussion, and there can be amendments to the budget. There's amendments to the budget throughout the year. This is just our very like important planning process, so we know what's going on. And the city knows what's going
Great. Okay, business district updates. You haven't,
No, fairly standard meeting, rooftop lighting,
is it moving forward? I know for a
Yeah.
while it was kind of,
yeah, they were doing, down Old Orchard, and moving up this way, yeah, it was just normal after budget talks.
how did the event go on the parking structure with the fire department and police and everything?
Good, very good for, the fact that it was terrible weather.
Yeah.
Out there, it went very well. Very well.
Anything coming up?
Coming up, no, I don't think we have anything until, street dance. Nothing this month, so that will be in June, usually the third Saturday in June. Yeah, I think that's where we are.
Do you have your update, John?
I've updated them.
Okay. Betty, do you have, or anyone? Nothing from Old Orchard?
Anything
Have
from
they had
Crossroads?
anything?
I'm not involved in Old Orchard really, so I'm not sure. And Crossroads, I haven't gone to any meetings yet, but maybe someday, soon. So yeah.
Okay, council update.
Yeah, had a couple of late meetings talking about budget. It's all very thrilling. We had a great presentation from the various business districts, and Tammy did a fabulous job of making a case for the BDC budget. Lots of time still to be discussing that, so looking forward to that. And optimistic that we'll get most of, I'm hopeful that the BBC will get most of what it's asked for. Let's see, I'm trying to think of the things that are pertinent to BDC. I did want to share just a couple of legislative notes. That's what I've been sitting here doing. Forgive me for doing my homework while I'm in class, teacher. But the bill that I had mentioned at our last meeting, which is House Bill 661, was defeated. And that was, that municipalities would have to reimburse utilities for moving their power lines. I think I mentioned this at the last, which would have been a hit to us, just small muni, to pay for them to move their lines when there's being road work is being done. It's ridiculous. House Bill 939, I'm sorry, 493. My bad. I think that was one of the tax ones. And right now it's not scheduled and there's only a week left of session. And so I'm just kind of hopeful that nobody brings it up to the put it on the calendar. At this point, they're running out of time. And so, yeah, I'll just make sure I keep you all abreast of anything that can impact businesses at the legislative level, just because I feel like I mentioned last meeting, your participation in reaching out to our lawmakers in Jeff City has a big impact. I know we all, most of us have a rep, Jo Dahl. And so she's on board with a lot of the same things that Webster feels strongly about, but it never hurts to reach out, even when you know she might support it. And I think,
Would that ever be something like a report from Joe on what's going on in the state, be something to have at a coffee or?
yeah, definitely. And like the St. Louis Municipal League, they're advocating for munis all the time, in Jeff City, giving testimony all the time. Mayor Arnold was just there, last week. Gosh, why was she there testifying? I can't even remember now. So yeah, definitely. And Laura's was planning to be here today, but she couldn't make it. And she was gonna share more because she was just there. And maybe it'll come back to me what she was there
Was that where they were trying to blend the city and the county?
Yes, thank you. Yes, the Better Together. It's another iteration of Better Together. This iteration was basically just the same as the last one, and it was not a great plan for municipalities, and so she made the position. Thank you, Tammy. That she's not necessarily opposed to having the conversation to understand what it would look like to unite the county and the city, but not with that plan. There are probably better ideas out there. So the conversation will continue perhaps for our lifetimes. Who knows? And then one other thing too, and let me look at this language so I don't get it wrong. That Laura mentioned, or Mayor Arnold mentioned. My bad. So if you're aware of, Opera Theater St. Louis had made an announcement that they are looking at a property in Clayton to build. We have been in talks with them and Webster, and trying to support them in various ways to stay. So we think it's really important that when that time comes, that this is a conversation that's in progress. When that time comes, outreach from folks like you, and our other businesses, we could probably ask them to reach out to the organization, Opera Theater St. Louis, to encourage them to please stay. So when that time comes, we'll let you know. But they're just an incredible asset to our community, and we really would like to keep them. So stay tuned.
Well, I think it's also appropriate. They are a business too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's appropriate for the business development mission. Like, what is there more? Do we, if we had a better understanding of why they were leaving, is there anything that, how can we support them?
Right.
To get them to choose to stay.
Right. I did hear in the past that like the Loretta Hilton is not the best venue for opera. I don't know much about, what that actually means. I'm not a opera theater ago, although I did see Carmen a couple years ago. It's fabulous. But yeah, that's an important call out, Tammy, to be able to, you know, understand what their needs are. And so that's what we're working on right now with a collaboration with Webster Year too. So that's what I got.
Any feedback on the coffee?
It was
We're
just-
three Lone Rangers that were there, so we just, I mean, I thought it was good content.
I thought it was great content. I was really glad to have have them come and chat with us. It's important that we, you know, work together and have a greater understanding of what's going on in the region. Attendance was dismal. I was glad to see the folks who were there, but like the city council had a quorum. Like it was a lot of council members, and I just wish that more of our business community had been there. But the content was fantastic and the hosts were gracious and yeah, great conversations.
And we can follow up more, but I think there was a House bill, like, was it, I forget the number.
Was it SB 22?
Maybe.
The historic tax credit.
Yeah.
I think it's SB 35.
Thank you. Let me look it up. I have my Legiscan up right now.
Your notes are better than mine, thank
Well,
you.
maybe I'm wrong. Oh,
Yeah,
Doesn't look like it has moved.
okay, but yeah, revitalizing Missouri downtowns and main streets, so there's a credit for historic businesses that add on to their current.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can find it. You guys can move on, and if I have something to add to that, I will.
Well, wrapping it up, the meeting is what we're.
Okay.
So our next meeting would be June 5th. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Can I say one thing before we do?
Yeah.
I'm listening about that.
Absolutely.
Does everybody use their phone calendar for calendaring?
Yes.
Would it be possible for us to make a public calendar that we could all subscribe to that would then put events on the top of my daily calendar? Like I have it, I just joined Veta Soccer League and I just subscribe and I automatically is there. I don't have to go looking. And so if we had something like that, it could be something to visit and we could even make it open to the public. All of our events would be on there and it'd be one more place. I mean, that's just where I look every morning. I was just
Is
thinking.
is that how constant contact would work? Tiara's, yeah. I mean,
I'll let Fern go first.
The constant contact feature is just allowing you to put it on your calendar.
Right, it's just a link, but you can make such thing as a shared calendar. Like everybody's probably got the holiday one that Apple puts out on their phone, right? So it puts all the holidays automatically on there. It'd be a similar thing where you would just download it once and anytime we would adjust it, it would automatically update the calendar on your phone.
It's like a calendar subscription.
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah.
I had my hand raised because I was wondering if anyone in this room subscribed to the community calendar on the city's website and if it worked that way. I'm not 100% sure. I just know you can subscribe to the community calendar in the city calendar on our website. I think it sends you a notification. Sometimes something is added, but I'm not sure if it actually adds it for you though. But that is a project we can test out and see if it works. And maybe revisit this conversation the next time. And then I'll also still talk to Dr. Peoples about what it looks like to, well, Fran, we need to figure out how much it costs for the constant contact and then see what that would look like to add to your current budget request. At this point in the budget process, we'll need to see what that looks like.
Yeah, there's a link in the newsletter.
Oh.
Or where you can submit. You can't.
No. So if you go to, I know you're
Yes.
trying to adjourn. If you go to the city website and you want to go to stay informed, that purple circle on the main page, click that, and then if there's a way to subscribe to the city's calendar, there should be. If not, I can go play around with it and send it to
There's
Tammy.
one on top of the calendar. itself.
Okay,
There's even one for a BDC subcommittee one. So if you go to the calendar homepage, it says subscribe to iCalendar. And then there's BDC collaboration subcommittee meeting. And then it wants to download it. Yeah, I just didn't know if that was something we could put in our newsletters and get everybody onto that.
idea.
And then we don't have to, it's one more way to them to see it.
yeah.
I don't know, sorry to bring it up at the end.
I like it.
There has to be more technologically advanced ways of doing it than what we are, so.
Right, the touches are so hard, getting in front of people.
Mhm. Yep. Agreed. Anything else?
I don't think the Zoom was started when the staff liaison point on the agenda was passed, but for those who I haven't met, there are a few new faces. My name is Tiara Thomas, and I am the Public Affairs and Engagement Manager for the city, and also your new staff liaison as of this meeting. So I'm excited to work with you guys. Sorry, this is a sickly first impression, but I look forward to working with each of you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Great. Did you want to introduce? I don't think you've met.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Joe Dresty with Vanilla Sugar Bake Shop in Old Orchard. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Welcome, Joe.
Do we have a motion?
I will, sorry, Tammy, I will, this, the Senate Bill 35, there's 3 parts to it, 3 different bills that are wrapped up in it. So let me do a little digging and then I'll send out some information to you all.
Great.
Okay, sorry.
And that's the one on the historic.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Second? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Meetings.